The research station floated quietly in the darkness of space, orbiting the small moon called Taiyang 7. Inside, scientists from the Velesian species worked peacefully on their studies of ancient artifacts. The Velesians were a gentle people, with soft blue skin and large eyes that showed kindness. They had no weapons, no soldiers, and no reason to fear anyone. The galaxy was supposed to be civilized now. Do-hyun stood in the observation deck looking out at the stars. He was a human diplomat, sent here to discuss trade agreements with the Velesians. At 50 years old, he had seen many worlds and met many alien species. His assistant Ji-woo stood beside him, a young woman of 25 who spoke 7 alien languages. She was excited to be here, learning about Velesian culture. "It's beautiful," Ji-woo said, watching a distant nebula glow in shades of purple and gold. "It is," Do-hyun agreed. "Peaceful, too. That's rare these days." He had no idea how wrong he was. The alarm started screaming 3 minutes later. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Do-hyun grabbed his communicator as Velesian scientists ran past him in panic. Their translator devices shouted words he didn't want to hear. "Raiders! Ships approaching! They're firing!" Ji-woo's face went pale. "What do we do?" Before Do-hyun could answer, the station shook violently. Something had hit them. The lights flickered. Through the observation window, Do-hyun saw 3 dark ships approaching. They were ugly vessels covered in spikes and weapons. Kravik ships. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Kraviks. They were slavers, pirates, and killers. Do-hyun ran to the communication center, Ji-woo right behind him. A Velesian communications officer was already trying to send a distress signal. "Help us, this is Research Station Taiyang 7. We are under attack by Kravik raiders. We have no weapons. We need immediate assistance." The message went out into space, traveling faster than light to reach the Galactic Coalition headquarters. Then the door exploded inward. Kravik soldiers stormed in, massive creatures with scales and too many teeth. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Down on the ground, one of them roared in broken standard language. "All of you, now!" Do-hyun pulled Ji-woo down beside him. Around them, Velesian scientists were crying, terrified. The Kraviks laughed at their fear. They moved through the station quickly, gathering everyone in the main assembly hall. 200 Velesians, 47 humans from the trade delegation. All prisoners now. The Kravik commander was a huge beast named Vornak. He walked among the prisoners, grinning with his horrible mouth. "You will work for us now," he announced. "The strong ones will be slaves. The weak ones will be sold, and if anyone tries to resist..." He pointed his weapon at a young Velesian child. The child's mother screamed. Vornak laughed and moved on. He didn't fire, not yet. Dead prisoners were worth nothing. Light years away, at the Galactic Coalition headquarters, the distress signal was received. Representatives from dozens of alien species gathered to discuss the situation. The Velesian ambassador was there, begging for help with tears running down his face. Ambassador Minji from Earth sat in the human section, listening carefully. The coalition debated for hours. The Thoraxians suggested sending a diplomatic mission. The Quellan proposed economic sanctions. The Hruthians recommended doing nothing at all. "The Kraviks are powerful," the Hruthian representative said. "If we anger them, they might attack our worlds too." Minji felt her anger growing. These aliens talked and talked while her people were in danger. She recognized Do-hyun's voice in the distress recording. They had been friends for 20 years, and now he was a prisoner, along with 46 other humans and 200 innocent Velesians. Finally, the coalition voted. They would send a diplomatic envoy to negotiate with the Kraviks. It would arrive in 3 weeks. Until then, they would monitor the situation. Minji stood up. Her voice was cold and clear. Ambassador Minji of Earth noting for the record that this response is inadequate. "My government will be informed immediately." The other ambassadors barely noticed. They were already moving on to other business. Raiders taking hostages happened sometimes in the outer systems. It was unfortunate, but what could they do? Minji walked out of the chamber and went straight to her private office. She sat at her desk and composed a single encrypted message to Earth. Her hands shook slightly as she typed. Code red, our people are in danger. The coalition won't help. Request immediate action. Coordinates attached. She hit send. The message would reach Earth in less than an hour. On Earth, in the military headquarters in Geneva, Fleet Admiral Tai Hyun was reviewing supply reports when the message came through. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had been a soldier for 35 years. He read Minji's message 3 times, then pulled up the detailed reports. 47 human citizens, held hostage by Kravik slavers. The Galactic Coalition refusing to act. Taehyun's jaw tightened. He picked up his communicator and spoke 4 words. Activate Protocol Red Sky. Across Earth, alarms began to sound in military bases. Protocol Red Sky was simple. When human citizens were in immediate danger and no other help was coming, Earth's military would respond with overwhelming force. No debates. No committees. Just action. Within 2 hours, the 3rd Battle Group was preparing to launch. 12 warships, 2 carrier groups, 3 support vessels, enough firepower to level a small moon. Taehyun would command personally from the dreadnought Indomitable. His staff officers scrambled to prepare. "Sir, the Galactic Coalition will protest," one of them warned. "Let them," Taehyun said calmly. "Our people are in danger. That's all that matters. The Kraviks outnumber us in that sector. This could start a war." Taehyun looked at the young officer. "Then it starts a war. But we don't leave our people behind, ever. That's not who we are." The 3rd Battle Group launched 6 hours after Minji's message was sent. The massive ships tore through space, heading toward Taeyang 7. Their estimated arrival time was 4 days. Back on the research station, Dohyun sat on the cold floor of the assembly hall. Kravik guards watched them constantly, weapons ready. Jiwoo was beside him, trying not to cry. Around them, Volition families huddled together in fear. "Do you think anyone got our message?" Jiwoo whispered. Dohyun thought about Earth, about the military he had once served in before becoming a diplomat, about the way humans responded when their own were threatened. "Yes," he said quietly. "Someone got it. And if I know my people, they're already coming. But what can they do? The Kraviks are so strong." Dohyun smiled grimly in the darkness. "These young people didn't remember the wars. They didn't understand what humanity was capable of when pushed." "You'll see," he told her. "When they arrive, you'll see." Above them, Vornak and his raiders celebrated their easy victory. They had taken the station without losing a single soldier. The hostages would bring good money. The human delegation would probably be worth extra. Everything was going perfectly. Vornak had never fought humans before. He thought they were just another species of weak traders and diplomats. He would learn differently soon enough. In the cold darkness of space, the 3rd Battle Group raced toward Taeyang 7. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Taehyun watched the countdown timer. 4 days until arrival. 4 days until the Kraviks learned a hard lesson. Humanity protects its own, always, no matter the cost. The 3rd Battle Group moved through space like a school of metal sharks. Admiral Taehyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the star charts. 3 days had passed since they left Earth. 1 more day until they reached Taeyang 7. 1 more day until his people could be rescued. Commander Hyejin worked at her station nearby, reviewing tactical data. She was the best tactical officer in the fleet, known for her ability to plan battles down to the smallest detail. "Sir, intelligence reports confirm 1 Kravik heavy cruiser, 3 destroyers, and approximately 400 raiders on the station itself." Taehyun nodded. "Their standard raiding formation. Nothing creative. We outnumber them in firepower, but they have hostages. That limits our options." Hyejin pulled up a map of the station. "If they realize we're not negotiating, they might kill prisoners." "Then we don't give them time to think," Taehyun said. "We hit them so fast and so hard that they don't have a chance to react." Across the bridge, the ship's diplomat Young-soo cleared his throat nervously. He was a thin man with glasses who believed strongly in peaceful solutions. "Admiral, perhaps we could at least attempt negotiations first? Offer some ransom? We might save lives that way." Taehyun turned to face him. His voice was not angry, but it was absolutely firm. "Young-soo, I respect your dedication to peace. But these are slavers. If we pay them, we tell every raider in the galaxy that taking human hostages is profitable. How many more people will die because we showed weakness today?" "But sir, we don't negotiate with slavers," Taehyun said flatly. "Not now, not ever. We're going to rescue our people and eliminate this threat. That's final." Young-soo sat down quietly. He understood, even if he didn't like it. Sometimes peace required strength. Sometimes mercy required violence. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Taeyang system exactly on schedule. Immediately, Their sensors detected the Kravik ships orbiting near the research station. The enemy vessels turned toward them, weapons charging. A communication signal came through. Taehyun nodded to his communications officer. Put them on screen. The image that appeared was nightmare fuel. Vornak the render was a massive Kravik, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark scales and battle scars. His mouth full of teeth that looked sharp enough to bite through steel. Multiple eyes focused on Taehyun with cold amusement. Human vessels, Vornak hissed, his voice coming through the translator. You come to pay ransom? Good. We can discuss terms. For each human we want 1 million credits. For the Velesians, half that. Pay quickly or we start killing them slowly. Taehyun's expression didn't change. He looked at Vornak like someone studying an insect. This is Fleet Admiral Taehyun of the Human Defense Fleet. You are currently holding 47 human citizens and 200 Velesian civilians. You will release all hostages immediately and surrender your vessels for trial under Galactic Coalition law. Vornak stared for a moment, then began laughing. It was a horrible sound, like grinding metal. Or what, little human? You think you scare me? Your species are merchants and diplomats. You have no warriors. You have no strength. We have guns pointed at your people's heads right now. You will pay us or we will hurt them. We will make them scream. And you will listen. The other Kraviks on his bridge were laughing too. To them, this was hilarious. Humans trying to threaten them? Ridiculous. Taehyun waited for the laughter to die down. When he spoke again, his voice was ice cold. You have 3 minutes to release the hostages and surrender. After that, we will consider your actions a declaration of war against humanity. 3 minutes. Starting now. He cut the transmission before Vornak could respond. On the Kravik heavy cruiser, Vornak was still chuckling. Did that fool just threaten us? He has 12 ships. We have conquered entire worlds. He turned to his weapons officer. Keep the weapons locked on the station. If the humans try anything, kill all the hostages. Let them hear the screams. But one of his officers looked worried. Commander, their ships are moving into attack formation. They're targeting our vessels. Let them, Vornak said confidently. They won't fire. They're too soft. All humans are soft. On the research station, things were different. Do-hyun was sitting with the other hostages when his hidden communicator buzzed quietly. He had managed to keep it concealed during the initial capture. The Kraviks weren't very thorough in their searches. He pulled it out carefully and read the message. It was from Hyejin, his old friend from his military days. They had served together 20 years ago. The message was brief. Drop, cover, hold tight. 180 seconds! Do-hyun's heart began to pound. He looked at Jiwoo beside him. Listen carefully, he whispered. In 3 minutes, something is going to happen. When it does, get on the ground and cover your head. Tell the others quietly. Jiwoo's eyes widened, but she understood. She began passing the message to the other humans, who passed it to the Velesians. The word spread through the crowd of hostages like a ripple in water. One of the Kravik guards noticed the movement. What are you doing? He growled, walking toward them with his weapon raised. Why are you talking? Do-hyun looked up at the massive alien and smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something the other person didn't. We're praying, he said calmly. You should probably do the same, the guard snarled, raising his weapon higher. Pray to who? To whatever gods you believe in, Do-hyun said. Because in about 90 seconds you're going to need all the help you can get. The guard thought this human had gone crazy from fear. He laughed and turned away. Back in space, Admiral Taehyun watched the countdown timer on his screen. 60 seconds remaining. The Kravik ships hadn't moved. They still thought this was a negotiation. All ships, battle stations. Taehyun ordered calmly. Target packages are assigned. Fire on my mark. Marine assault teams. Prepare for station boarding. Medical teams stand by to receive casualties. Hyejin was coordinating everything from her station. All ships report ready, sir. Marines are in boarding craft. Targeting solutions locked. 30 seconds. On the station, Do-hyun put his arm around Jiwoo. Get down now. Around them, all the hostages dropped to the floor. The Kravik guards looked confused. 20 seconds. Vornak on his bridge was growing impatient. The 3 minutes are almost up. They're going to surrender any moment now. Humans are all cowards. 10 seconds, Taehyun's voice was absolutely calm. All ships fire. The third battle group opened fire with everything they had. The first salvo of railgun rounds crossed the distance in less than 2 seconds. The Kravik heavy cruiser's shields barely had time to activate before the rounds tore through them. Railguns fired solid metal at a significant fraction of light speed. There was no defense against them if you weren't ready. The heavy cruiser broke apart like a toy. One moment it was there. The next moment it was expanding debris and atmosphere venting into space. Fornak didn't even have time to scream. The 3 Kravik destroyers tried to react. One attempted to flee, its engines lighting up. It made it exactly 2 kilometers before 6 missiles from human frigates intercepted it. The destroyer disappeared in a flash of light. The second destroyer tried to return fire. Its weapons charged and fired at the nearest human ship. The shots missed by a wide margin. Kravik gunners were used to fighting at close range against enemies who fought back slowly. Human ships moved with precision, their computers calculating trajectories faster than any organic mind could think. The destroyer was hit by an EMP burst that fried every electronic system on board. It went dark, drifting helplessly. The third destroyer managed to get its shields up and fired several shots. One actually hit a human frigate, causing minor damage. The destroyer's captain felt a moment of hope. Then the Indomitable itself fired. The Dreadnought's main guns were designed to crack planetary fortifications. Against a single destroyer, they were overkill. The Kravik ship simply ceased to exist. The space battle lasted 3 minutes and 40 seconds. When it was over, the Kravik raiding force was destroyed. One ship remained, drifting and powerless. The rest were debris. On the station, the Kravik guards felt the vibrations of explosions through the hull. Their communicators went dead. They looked at each other in confusion. What was happening? Do-hyun raised his head slightly and smiled. "They're here," he whispered to Jiwoo. Outside the station, human marine boarding craft approached at high speed. Marine Captain Sunwoo checked her weapon one final time as the boarding craft approached the research station. She was 32 years old and had led her team through 15 hostile boarding actions. This would be her 16th. Around her, 20 Marines prepared their equipment in silence. They were professionals who knew their jobs. "Remember," Sunwoo said calmly over the team channel, "hostages first. Speed is everything. The longer we take, the more time these raiders have to hurt our people. We go in fast, we hit hard, and we secure every hostage. Clear?" "Clear, Captain," her team responded in unison. The craft reached the station's outer hull. Sunwoo studied the layout on her tactical display. Intelligence showed the hostages were being held in the main assembly hall in the station's center. Between her team and the hostages were 3 levels of corridors filled with Kravik raiders. Breaching in 3, 2, 1, go. The boarding craft attached itself to the hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches burned through the metal in precise circles. 3 entry points opened simultaneously at different locations on the station. Sunwoo's team poured through their breach point like water through a crack. Inside the station, the Kravik raiders were in chaos. Their ships were gone. Their commander was dead. Their communicators weren't working. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to flee. None of them were prepared for what came next. The first group of Kravik Sunwoo's team encountered were guarding a corridor junction. There were 5 of them, big and armed. They turned toward the sound of human boots and raised their weapons. They never got a chance to fire. Human Marines trained constantly in close-quarters combat. Their weapons were designed for precision, not power. Each Marine targeted a specific enemy. 5 shots fired in less than a second. 5 Kraviks dropped. The Marines moved forward without stopping. "Contact Section 7, 5 hostiles eliminated," Sunwoo reported calmly. "Moving to objective." 2 other Marine teams were advancing through different sections of the station. They moved like clockwork, each person knowing exactly where the others were. When they encountered resistance, they eliminated it quickly and efficiently. The Kraviks were strong and brutal, but they fought as individuals. The Marines fought as a single organism. In the assembly hall, the Kravik guards were getting nervous. Explosions and weapons fire echoed through the station. One of them tried his communicator again. Still nothing. The garrison commander, a scarred veteran named Drex, realized what was happening. The human ships hadn't come to negotiate. They had come to fight, and somehow, impossibly, the humans were winning. "Prepare to execute the hostages," Drex ordered. "All of them. If we're going to die, we take them with us." The guards raised their weapons, pointing them at the crowd of terrified prisoners. Felician parents covered their children with their bodies. Soyeon grabbed Jiwoo and pulled her close. This was it. Then the doors exploded. Sun Wu's team came through 3 entrances at once. They had used precision charges that blew the doors inward but didn't damage the hull. The Marines entered in perfect formation, weapons up and ready. Time seemed to slow down. The Kravik guards turned toward the doors. Their weapons were pointing at hostages. Sun Wu's team had maybe 2 seconds before the guards could fire and kill dozens of innocents. 2 seconds was more than enough. The Marines had been training for this exact scenario for years. Every guard was already targeted before the doors blew. Each Marine had memorized the station layout, knew where the hostages would be, and had practiced the shots 1,000 times. 20 Marines, 15 Kravik guards. The guards were bigger, stronger, and already had weapons aimed at targets. It didn't matter. The firefight lasted exactly 6 seconds. When it was over, every Kravik guard was on the floor. Not a single hostage had been hit. Human accuracy at close range was something most alien species couldn't comprehend. Humans evolved as hunters, throwing spears and shooting arrows with deadly precision. Modern training and technology had only enhanced that natural skill. "Room secure," Sun Wu shouted. "All hostages down! Keep your hands visible." The hostages, most of whom had been expecting to die, stayed on the floor. Some were crying. Others were too shocked to move. Sun Wu's team swept through the room, checking every corner and confirming all threats were neutralized. Do-hyun looked up from his position and saw Sun Wu standing over him. She was wearing full combat armor and carrying a rifle that looked impossibly advanced. But through her helmet visor he could see her eyes. They were calm and professional. "Took you long enough," Do-hyun said, his voice shaking slightly despite his attempt at humor. Sun Wu smiled. "Traffic was terrible. Can you stand?" She helped him to his feet. Around them, other Marines were helping hostages up and checking them for injuries. Medical personnel began entering the room with supplies and stretchers. Ji-woo stood up slowly, staring at the fallen Kravik guards. "They were going to kill us. They were going to kill everyone." "I know," Sun Wu said gently, "but they didn't. You're safe now." Throughout the rest of the station, the other Marine teams were finishing their sweep. Pockets of Kravik raiders tried to resist, but they were quickly overwhelmed. Some surrendered, throwing down their weapons and begging for mercy. The Marines accepted their surrenders and secured them as prisoners. The entire assault, from breaching the hull to securing all hostages, took 18 minutes. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Tae-hyun received the reports. All hostages secured. 47 humans all alive. 200 Velicians all alive. Minor injuries only. 1 human with a broken arm from diving for cover. Marine casualties, 3 wounded, none critical. Station secure. Tae-hyun allowed himself a small smile. "Acknowledged. Begin evacuating the hostages to medical ships. Keep the prisoners separated and under heavy guard. I want to talk to them." An hour later, the rescued hostages were aboard human medical vessels. Doctors checked them over while giving them food and water. Many were still in shock, unable to believe they were actually safe. The Velicians especially seemed confused. In their culture, rescue missions like this were impossible. They had expected to be slaves or dead. Do-hyun sat in a medical bay while a doctor wrapped his ribs. He had bruised them diving to the floor during the rescue. Ji-woo sat nearby, her broken arm already in a cast. She hadn't stopped crying since they were rescued, but they were good tears. "I thought we were dead," she said quietly. "When those guards raised their weapons, I thought it was over." "So did I," Do-hyun admitted. "But I should have had more faith. Earth doesn't abandon its people. Ever." Hyejin visited them in the medical bay. She hugged Do-hyun carefully, mindful of his ribs. They had served together decades ago and had remained friends. "You look terrible," she said. "You should see the other guys," Do-hyun joked weakly. "I did, they look worse." Hyejin sat down beside him. "The Admiral wants to debrief you when you're feeling up to it. We need to know everything about the Kravik operation, where their bases are, how many raiders they have, what their plans were." "They talked a lot," Do-hyun said. "Bragged, really. I remember most of it." Meanwhile, in the cargo bay of the Indomitable, the captured Kravik sat in containment cells. There were 63 survivors from the station, and 12 from the disabled destroyer. They sat in silence, staring at the human guards who watched them with cold eyes. Admiral Tae-hyun entered the cargo bay and walked to the front of the cells. The Kraviks looked at him, some with fear, some with hatred, none with understanding. "I am Fleet Admiral Tae-hyun of Earth," he said. His voice was translated into Kravik language by computers. You are prisoners of war. You will be tried for piracy, attempted murder, hostage-taking, and attempted slavery. The evidence against you is overwhelming. The Galactic Coalition will oversee your trials. One of the Kraviks, braver or stupider than the rest, spoke up. You killed Vornak the Render. You destroyed our ships. The Kravik Empire will destroy you for this. Taehyun looked at the prisoner calmly. Your commander was given a chance to surrender. He chose violence. He threatened to kill innocents. He laughed about it. So we eliminated the threat. He paused. As for your empire, they can try. But first you're going to tell us where your main bases are, where you take your slaves, where your fleets gather. You're going to tell us everything. Never, the Kravik snarled. We tell you nothing. You will, Taehyun said simply. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your lives in a human prison. But if you cooperate, if you help us free the people your empire has enslaved, we might show mercy. He leaned closer to the containment field. Think carefully. Your choice is between helping us save innocents or rotting in a cell forever. Choose wisely. He turned and walked away, leaving the Kraviks to think about their situation. Back on the medical ship, Do-hyun watched through a window as the research station slowly drifted in space. Human engineering teams were already aboard, repairing the damage. The Velesian scientists would be able to return home soon. What happens now? Ji-woo asked. Now? Do-hyun thought about it. Now the Kraviks learn a lesson. You don't threaten humanity's people. You don't take our citizens hostage. And if you do, we will find you. We will come for you, and we will make you regret it. Ji-woo looked worried. But the Kravik Empire is huge. This could start a war. News of the Taeyang 7 incident spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Coalition headquarters buzzed with shocked conversations. The peaceful Velesians thanked humanity endlessly. Other species watched nervously. And the Kravik Empire burned with rage. War Chief Draxus the Cruel sat in his command throne on the Kravik homeworld, reading the reports. Vornak was dead. 3 destroyers destroyed. 1 heavy cruiser obliterated. Over 300 raiders killed or captured. And the humans had done it all in less than 20 minutes. Draxus was old by Kravik standards, nearly 60 years. He had conquered 12 worlds and enslaved millions. He had never been defeated in battle. The humans had destroyed his raiding party like it was nothing. Unacceptable, he growled, his multiple eyes burning with fury. These humans dare to challenge us? They dare to kill our warriors? His advisors stood nervously around him. One brave enough to speak said, Perhaps we should be cautious, War Chief. The humans fought with unexpected skill. Their technology seems advanced. Coward, Draxus roared. They are merchants who got lucky. We are the Kravik Empire. We have crushed species far older and more powerful than these upstart humans. He slammed his fist on the armrest. Send a message to Earth. We demand 1 trillion credits in payment for our losses. We demand the surrender of their fleet admiral for execution. And we demand a formal apology. If they refuse, we will declare war and crush their pathetic worlds. The message was sent. It reached Earth 2 days later. In Geneva, President Jamin read the Kravik demands with Defense Minister Hana and Fleet Admiral Taehyun. The 3 of them sat in the secure conference room, the weight of the galaxy's eyes on them. 1 trillion credits, Hana said slowly, for the privilege of rescuing our own people from slavers. They're insane. They're testing us, Taehyun said. They want to see if we'll back down. If we pay this, every pirate and raider in the galaxy will think humans are easy targets. President Jamin was a diplomat by nature. He had spent his entire career avoiding conflicts and building bridges. But he was also a father and grandfather. He thought about what he would do if his children were taken by slavers. The answer was simple. Can we win a war against the Kravik Empire? He asked Taehyun directly. Taehyun pulled up a holographic display showing Kravik military strength. They have a larger navy than us, maybe 3 times as many ships, but their tactics are primitive. They rely on intimidation and brute force. They've never fought anyone who actually fights back effectively. He zoomed in on battle reports. Their ships are tough but slow. Their gunners are inaccurate. Their commanders make predictable decisions. Yes, Mr. President, we can win. But it will be costly. How costly? Hundreds of our ships damaged or destroyed. Thousands of casualties. Maybe more. But if we don't fight now, they'll keep taking our people. They'll keep enslaving innocents. And eventually they'll attack Earth itself. Hana added, The Kraviks have destroyed entire civilizations. They've enslaved billions. If we let them threaten us without consequence, we're telling them it's acceptable. We're also telling every human citizen that we won't protect them. Jamin sat quietly for a long moment. His hands were folded on the table. Finally, he looked up. Draft a response. Tell the Kraviks that we will not pay. We will not surrender our admiral. We will not apologize for defending our people. Tell them that if they want war, they will have it. The response was sent that evening. Ambassador Minji delivered it personally at the Galactic Coalition headquarters. The other species listened in stunned silence as she spoke. The Kravik Empire engaged in piracy, hostage-taking, and attempted murder against human citizens and our Velesian allies. Earth's military responded appropriately to defend innocent lives. We will not be blackmailed. We will not surrender our people to execution. If the Kravik Empire wishes to declare war over their failed raid, that is their choice. But they should understand clearly, humanity will defend itself and its allies with every resource at our disposal. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. War over hostages? This was unprecedented. Most species in the coalition avoided wars at any cost. Trade sanctions, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation. These were the civilized ways to handle disputes. The Hruthian ambassador stood up, his tentacles waving in agitation. Ambassador Minji, surely you understand that war with the Kravik Empire would be catastrophic.
They are powerful.
They are ruthless. Your species should reconsider. Minji's face was calm, but her voice was steel. The catastrophe already occurred when they took our people and threatened to enslave them. Earth does not negotiate with slavers. This is not a negotiable position. Within a week, the Kravik Empire formally declared war on humanity. Draxus assembled a fleet of 60 warships, an overwhelming force meant to crush the human spirit in a single devastating blow. They would attack the human colony of New Busan, home to 3 million people. They would show humanity the cost of defiance. We will burn their world, Draxus announced to his fleet commanders. We will kill their warriors and take their young as slaves. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who resist the Kravik Empire. The fleet moved toward New Busan. Their journey would take 3 weeks. On Earth, military mobilization went into full effect. The first battle group joined the third at New Busan. Together, they represented the strongest force humanity could field. 32 warships, 4 carrier groups, and hundreds of smaller support vessels. It still wasn't enough to match the Kravik numbers. Admiral Taehyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, now orbiting New Busan. His tactical teams had been working for days, preparing every possible defense. Mines were positioned in orbital patterns. Missile platforms hid in the planet's shadow. Every ship had practiced its maneuvers 100 times. Commander Hyejin approached him with the latest intelligence. The Kravik fleet is 2 days out. 60 capital ships confirmed. They're not trying to hide. They're coming straight at us in a standard attack formation. Predictable, Taehyun said. They want to intimidate us. They think we'll run. Some of the colony ships are evacuating civilians. Just in case, good, but we're not running. This is where we make our stand. He looked at the tactical display. They outnumber us 2 to 1. But we have advantages. We know the terrain. We've prepared the battlefield. And they think they've already won. 2 days later, the Kravik fleet arrived at New Busan. Draxus stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the human ships arrayed in defensive formation around the planet. 32 ships against his 60. The humans were fools to even try. They actually stayed, one of his officers said with surprise. Of course they stayed. Draxus laughed. They're defending their breeding world. But it doesn't matter. We have numbers. We have strength. Prepare to attack. Target their largest ships first. I want to see them break and flee. The Kravik fleet formed into a massive wedge formation and charged forward. It was their standard tactic. Overwhelming frontal assault that smashed through enemy lines. It had worked against dozens of species. They saw no reason it wouldn't work against humans. The human fleet opened fire at extreme range. Railgun rounds crossed the distance at tremendous speed. The first salvo caught the Kraviks by surprise. 3 of their forward ships took damage, their shields flickering under the impact. But the Kravik fleet kept coming. 60 ships against 32. They would win through sheer numbers. Then the human fleet did something unexpected. They fell back, pulling away from the Kravik advance. To Draxus, it looked like they were running. See, they flee already. Press the attack. The Kravik fleet surged forward, eager for the kill. They pushed deep into the human defensive zone, hungry to catch the retreating ships. That's when the trap sprang shut. The space around the Kravik fleet suddenly lit up with explosions. Mines that had been placed weeks ago detonated in carefully timed sequences. Missile platforms that had been hiding in the planet's shadow revealed themselves and fired. Human fighters launched from carriers that had been concealed behind orbital stations, and the human fleet stopped retreating. They turned and opened fire from multiple directions at once. Draxus's confident smile vanished. His formation was falling apart. Ships were taking damage from all sides. The humans hadn't been retreating. They had been leading him into a kill zone. "Reform the line," he shouted. "Get back into formation." But the Kravik ships were too spread out, too focused on chasing what they thought was a beaten enemy. The human fleet moved like dancers, each ship in perfect coordination with the others. They focused fire on individual Kravik ships, overwhelming shields and destroying them one by one. The battle lasted 6 hours. It was brutal and bloody. Human ships took heavy damage. The frigate Braveheart was destroyed when 3 Kravik destroyers caught it alone. The carrier Horizon lost half its fighters. But the humans never broke formation. They never panicked. They fought with cold, calculated precision. When Draxus finally ordered the retreat, he had lost 32 ships, more than half his fleet. The remaining vessels were badly damaged. His flagship's shields were gone and his engines were failing. The human fleet had lost 4 ships and had 11 badly damaged. It was costly, but they had won. Draxus couldn't believe it. His massive fleet, his overwhelming force, defeated by these merchant humans. How was it possible? The news of the Battle of New Busan spread across the galaxy within days. The Galactic Coalition couldn't believe what they were hearing. The Kravik Empire, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been defeated by humanity, not through luck or accident, but through superior tactics and unbreakable determination. Ambassador Minji stood before the Coalition Assembly once again. This time, the other species listened with new respect and some fear. She spoke clearly, her words chosen carefully. The Kravik Empire declared war on humanity because we rescued our people from slavers. They attacked our colony with overwhelming force. We defended ourselves successfully. This war was not our choice, but we will not surrender. We will continue to fight until the Kraviks agree to peace terms that include the release of all slaves and an end to their raiding operations. The Velisian ambassador, whose people had been saved at Taiyang 7, stood to speak. The Velisian unity stands with humanity. They saved our people when no one else would. We offer whatever support we can provide. Other species were less certain. The Hruthian ambassador raised his tentacles nervously. But surely this conflict should be resolved through diplomacy now. Both sides have suffered losses. Perhaps negotiations. We tried diplomacy, Minji interrupted. When our people were taken hostage, the coalition voted to monitor the situation for 3 weeks. If we had waited for diplomatic solutions, our citizens would be slaves or dead now. We will negotiate with the Kraviks, but only when they demonstrate genuine willingness to end their empire of slavery. The war continued for 6 more months. The Kraviks kept sending fleets to attack human positions. Each time they lost. Not because humanity had more ships. The Kraviks still had numerical superiority. But because humans fought smarter. At the Battle of Terran Nebula, a Kravik fleet of 40 ships tried to ambush 12 human vessels. The humans detected the trap, reversed the ambush, and destroyed 23 Kravik ships while losing only 1 of their own. At the siege of Garrison Station Omega, Kravik ground forces attempted to capture a human military base. The Marines defending the station held for 6 days against overwhelming numbers, using tactics and technology that the Kraviks couldn't counter. When reinforcements arrived, the Kravik ground army surrendered, the first time in their history they had ever done so. But the most important change happened quietly, away from the battles. The Velisians had given humanity intelligence about Kravik slave camps. Admiral Taehyun began sending task forces to liberate them. The first liberation happened at a mining colony called Korvash. 300 slaves from 4 different species had been working there for years under brutal conditions. The Kravik overseers were cruel, punishing any resistance with death. When Marine Captain Sunwoo led her team to liberate the camp, the slaves thought it was another raid. They cowered in fear, expecting more violence. But Sunwoo and her Marines moved through the camp methodically, arresting the overseers and securing the area. "You're free," Sunwoo told them through translators. "We're from Earth, we're here to take you home." The slaves couldn't believe it at first. Many had been prisoners for so long they had forgotten what freedom meant. An elderly Quellan, his scales scarred from years of abuse, approached Sun Wu carefully. "Why?" he asked simply. "Why do you help us? We are nothing to you." Sun Wu looked at him with kind eyes. "Because it's right. Because no one should be enslaved. And because if we have the power to free you, we have the duty to try." The Quellan began to cry. Around him, other freed slaves wept with relief and joy. Over 6 months, humanity liberated 47 slave camps. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were freed. The humans asked for nothing in return. They simply brought the freed slaves to neutral coalition worlds or helped them return home. The galaxy began to understand something. Humanity didn't fight for conquest or profit. They fought to protect the innocent. Meanwhile, the Kravik Empire was crumbling. Their economy depended on slave labor, and the humans were freeing those slaves. Their military kept losing battles. Other species who had feared them for centuries began to see them as vulnerable. War Chief Draxus sat in his command center, surrounded by reports of defeat after defeat. His advisors were quiet, afraid to speak. The mighty Kravik Empire was losing a war to a species they had considered weak merchants. "How is this possible?" Draxus growled. "We are stronger. We are fiercer. We have more warriors." One of his older advisors, a scarred veteran named Krell, finally spoke. "War Chief, we are strong. But the humans are smart. We fight with rage and power. They fight with precision and planning. Every battle we charge forward. Every battle they're ready for us. We need to change our tactics." "No," Draxus roared. "We are Kravik. We do not change. We do not adapt to lesser species. We crush them." But deep down, Draxus knew the truth. The humans had shown him something terrifying. His empire was built on fear and brutality, but fear wasn't working against them. The humans simply weren't afraid. 8 months after the Taiyang 7 incident, Admiral Taehyun's fleet arrived at Kravik's prime, the Kravik homeworld. Every ship in the Kravik Navy, more than 300 vessels, formed a defensive wall around their planet. This was their last stand. If the humans took their homeworld, the Empire would end. On his flagship, Draxus watched the human fleet approach. He expected them to attack immediately, to try to blast through his defenses. But they didn't. Instead, Admiral Taehyun sent a transmission. It was broadcast on all frequencies so everyone on Kravik's prime could hear it. "People of the Kravik Empire." Taehyun's voice was calm and clear. "Your leaders started this war when they enslaved innocent people and took our citizens hostage. Your leaders promised you glory through conquest. We are here to show you the cost of that promise." The human fleet began moving, but not to attack, to demonstrate. They performed complex maneuvers that showed incredible coordination. Stealth ships appeared in orbit, revealed themselves, then vanished again, showing they had been there all along undetected. Human fighters performed aerobatics that should have been impossible. Electronic warfare systems showed their power by making every Kravik military sensor read false information. On Kravik's prime, millions of Kraviks watched. They had been told humans were weak. The demonstration showed them the truth. The humans could destroy their world whenever they wanted. The only reason their planet still existed was because the humans chose mercy. "We could end you," Taehyun continued. "Our weapons are aimed at your cities right now. Your shields are already compromised by our electronic warfare. We could turn your world into dust. But we won't. Do you know why?" He paused, letting the question hang in the air. "Because we're not monsters. We don't conquer. We don't enslave. We defend. We came here because your empire made war on innocent people. We fought you because you refused to stop. But we don't want to destroy you. We want you to choose a different path." Draxus listened to this with growing rage and humiliation, but around him his advisors were talking quietly. His warriors were watching the human demonstration and understanding for the first time that they had lost. "Surrender now," Taehyun said. "Release all slaves. Dismantle your raiding fleets. Face justice for your crimes at the Galactic Coalition. Choose this and your people can have a future. Choose continued war and we will do what must be done. You have 1 day to decide." The transmission ended. The human fleet held position, waiting. In the Kravik Command Center, the debate was fierce. Some warriors wanted to fight to the death. Others recognized the reality. They couldn't win. Younger Kraviks who had never known anything but the Empire's strength were shocked to see it crumbling. Krell, the old advisor, finally said what everyone was thinking. "War Chief, we have lost. Not just this battle, the entire war. The humans have shown mercy by giving us this choice. If we refuse, they will destroy us. And they can. We have seen their power. Draxus wanted to refuse. Every instinct told him to fight. But he looked at his advisors, his warriors, his commanders. They were all looking at him, waiting. And he saw in their eyes that they knew the truth. The Kravik Empire surrendered the next morning. The surrender ceremony happened at the Galactic Coalition headquarters. Draxus, stripped of his war decorations, signed the treaty documents. The Kravik Empire would release all slaves immediately. Their raiding fleets would be disbanded. War criminals would face trial. The empire, as it had existed, was finished. Ambassador Minji watched the signing with satisfaction. Beside her stood Do-hyun, who had been the first hostage rescued from Taeyang 7. Jiwoo was there too, her arm fully healed now. It's really over, Jiwoo said quietly. This war is over, Minji agreed. But the work continues. There are still thousands of freed slaves who need help returning home. There are still raiders in other parts of the galaxy. But yes, this chapter is closed. A year after the Taeyang 7 incident, a memorial was dedicated at the research station. It was a simple monument, listing the names of everyone who had been held hostage there. Humans and Velesians together. Admiral Taehyun attended the ceremony, along with Captain Sunwoo and many of the Marines who had performed the rescue. The freed Velesian scientists were there too, along with their families. A Velesian elder named Sora, she had adopted a human name to honor her rescuers, spoke to the gathered crowd.